Well, good morning and welcome to our Leesburg Community Church Christmas morning get together. As you sit with your family around the television, maybe you just woke up, maybe you've been up for several hours, but either way, you came either from chaos or you're about to go into chaos, most likely. And I think for many of us, that's how the Christmas season is ultimately defined, or at least remembered. It certainly is at my house. At my house, Christmas morning is pure chaos. There are loud noises. There are mountains of wrapping paper that get stacked on top of each other. There are toys that need to be assembled or parts that need to be put together. It's fun chaos. It's bright chaos. It is joyful chaos, but it is chaos. And I think for many of us, as we sort of make our way through the Christmas season, that's kind of what tends to define our experience. That much of our life in this season is busy. It's going from party to party. It's going from thing to thing. It's picking up all the presents. It's getting all the stuff. It's going to all the things for schools. And it's a laundry list of things that we have to do during this season. And ultimately, I think we feel the press and we feel sort of the chaotic nature of it, which is ironic because Christmas is supposed to bring about, or it's supposed to be symbolic with this idea of peace. Peace is supposed to be sort of this central theme in our Christmas story and the theme of what Christmas is really all about. And so many of us, like we sing songs, the Christmas songs have this idea of peace on earth, goodwill towards men. But most of us, as we go through life, we don't experience this kind of peace. We want it. We want this idea of peace. But this season seems to be way more symbolic of chaos. So I can remember spending my Christmases in West Virginia as a kid growing up. My mom's side of the family lived there. It's where we would always go for Christmas. And so snow was like this crazy thing that I never really got to experience and still sort of am getting used to. But I remember one Christmas Eve experiencing what peace sort of felt like for the first time in my life. It was Christmas Eve. I think I was 8 or 9 years old. I remember going outside because my grandmother said, "Hey, it's snowing." And so I ran outside. And there's no wind, there's no noise. It was just literally snow falling. And it was like the most silent that I had ever experienced the earth. And I remember just feeling like, okay, this is what peace is supposed to feel like. And the older I get, the more I wish that my life sort of had things like that in it, these sort of still small moments where you could sort of feel the very presence of God. And biblically speaking, this is what the idea of peace is supposed to bring us. It's what a relationship with God brings us. It brings us these moments where in the midst of the chaos of life, like we have this stable sort of peace figure, this peace that we feel in our soul, this peace that we feel in our spirit. And we feel that no matter what is going on in our life, no matter what is going on in our world. Paul would direct this message to the Romans in Romans 15:13 when he would say, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing." And so the idea here is that our God can fill us with peace, and that there's something about peace in what we believe. And so Paul hits on these aspects of what our belief actually brings us. It allows us the ability to experience hope, to actually experience peace. And so the language surrounding peace there is really key because he says there is peace in your believing. And if you've ever been a person, if you ever had a irrational paranoia, right, where you think someone's out to get you or you think that something's wrong when it's not, we all have those moments where we have these irrational thoughts that lead to paranoia. And what it usually takes is someone who's external to us sort of talking us off the ledge, right, talking sense to us, talking sort of the realities of life that what we think and what we believe aren't actually true. It usually takes someone reassuring us. And as we sort of believe that person more, and as we sort of get a sense of a reality more, it's what brings us peace. It's what allows us to sort of set our irrationalities and our paranoia aside, because there is a believing that we have with this sort of exterior force, this exterior person who's showing us what is real. And so this is, I think, what Paul is getting at when it comes to the peace in the life of a Christian, because there is something that brings about peace when we believe the right things, when we trust the right things, when we see that God is shaping things in the future, that God is the one who we should put our trust in. And when we believe that, it stirs in our heart not chaos, not anxiety, not fear, but it stirs in us a sense of peace. And so what we believe ultimately sort of moves us and shapes us into what brings us peace in our life. And so Paul would tell the Ephesians in Ephesians chapter 4, he would say that Jesus himself is our peace. Many of us want this peace that Jesus offers us, but we just tend to look to the wrong things, or we look to the wrong people, or we look to the wrong attitudes, and we form the wrong kinds of belief. And so the reason many times that there's not this peace in our life is because we've looked to the wrong things that aren't going to offer us the kind of peace that Paul talks about in Ephesians and he talks about in Romans. And that's because Jesus is this figure who brings about the peace that we so desire. That's really what Christmas is about. Christmas is the story of God sending his son who would live the life that we could not live, that we might be made in right relationship with God, that might bring us peace with God. That's the very concept. It's the core of Christmas. It's the core of the Christmas story, that Jesus came to earth to not only bring peace on earth, he brought peace on earth and goodwill towards men being the relationship between God and you and I. And so it's the very concept, it's the very foundation of Christmas is the idea of peace. And you and I have the opportunity to walk in that peace in our believing. And so when we remember who Jesus is, when we remember what he's called us to, remember how he's called us to walk, we get a chance to walk in this peace that he offers us, and it comes through our believing. The author of Hebrews would ultimately conclude Hebrews like this. He would say that, "Now may the God of peace, who brought up from the dead our Lord Jesus, the great shepherd of the sheep, through the blood of everlasting covenant, equip you with every good to do his will, working in us what is pleasing in his sight, through Jesus Christ, to whom be glory forever and ever." So the God of peace, who equips us to do his will, offers us this through the life of Jesus. And so this is what is the foundational piece of Christmas. And so as you open presents today, as you eat meals, as you share with your family, let us remember the God of peace offers us hope that we might be filled with his Spirit and experience relationship with his Son because of Christmas and what God has done through this season. And so peace to you, peace in your home, peace with your family, and may you experience the goodness of God today.